Once upon a time, in a quiet village, surrounded by flowers and trees, there lived a kind girl named Bella. She loved to read books, help her family, and care for animals. Bella had two older sisters, but they were not as kind. They often complained, wanted fancy things, and didn't help much at home. Bella and her father, a gentleman who once worked as a merchant, lived a simple life. They had once been wealthy, but now they lived in a small cottage. Bella didn't mind. She liked her peaceful days, reading in the garden and helping around the house. One day, Bella's father came home with exciting news. "Children," he said, "I may have a chance to earn money again. I must travel to the city. What would you like me to bring back?" Bella's sisters shouted, "Jewels, dresses, shoes!" Bella smiled and said softly, "Please bring me a rose, a single red rose." Her father nodded. "I will try." The next day, he packed his bag, kissed Bella on the head, and rode off on his old horse. The journey to the city was long and tiring, but when he got there, he found that nothing had changed. He still had no money, and no one wanted to trade. Feeling sad and cold, he began the long journey home. Snow started to fall, and the forest grew darker. The poor man got lost in the woods. Just when he thought he couldn't go any farther, he saw something glowing through the trees, lights. He followed the lights and found a grand castle hidden among the snow-covered trees. Strangely, the gates opened on their own. He entered, hoping to find shelter. Inside, a warm fire crackled. A table was full of food. "Hello?" he called out, but no one answered. Still, the food smelled too good to resist. He sat, ate, and soon fell asleep by the fire. In the morning, he wandered into the castle's garden. There, among the winter snow, bloomed a single red rose, just like Bella had asked for. Smiling, he picked the rose. But suddenly, roar! A deep, angry sound filled the air. Out from the shadows came a beast, tall and furry, with glowing eyes and sharp claws. "How dare you steal from my garden?" the beast growled. The man fell to his knees. "I'm sorry. It was for my daughter." The beast paused. "You may go, but in 3 days, send your daughter here, or return yourself and stay forever." Trembling, the man took the rose and rode home, heart full of fear. Bella waited by the window, watching the snowy road, hoping to see her father's horse. When she finally saw him coming through the trees, she ran outside, smiling. "Papa!" she called. "You're home!" Her father hugged her tightly, but he looked worried, and his eyes were tired. He handed her the rose. "For you, my Bella," he said softly. Bella's smile faded. "You don't look happy, Papa. What happened?" He sat by the fire and told her everything. The castle, the magical feast, the rose, and the terrible beast. "He let me go," her father said. "But he made me promise. Either I must return to stay forever, or you must go in my place." Her sisters gasped. "You can't mean it! Bella wouldn't go!" Bella stayed quiet. She held the rose gently in her hand and looked into the fire. Then she said, "If the beast was kind enough to let you go, then I must be kind too. I will go." "No!" her father cried. "I won't let you!" But Bella was brave. "You gave him your word, and I gave you mine. I asked for the rose. I must go." The next day, she packed a small bag. Her sisters did not help. They only whispered and shook their heads. Before leaving, Bella hugged her father. "Don't be afraid. I'll be fine." He nodded sadly, tears in his eyes. Together they rode back through the forest. The snow had stopped, and the sun peeked through the clouds. But Bella was quiet the whole way. Finally, they reached the gate of the grand castle. It opened all by itself, just like her father had said. Inside, everything was clean and warm. like magic. As they entered, a low voice echoed, "Welcome back." Bella looked up and saw the Beast standing at the top of the stairs. He was huge, with fur the color of smoke and deep golden eyes. He wore a red velvet coat and walked with heavy steps. "I am Bella," she said bravely, stepping forward. The Beast looked at her with surprise, not anger. He nodded. "You are welcome here. Your father may stay the night, but tomorrow, he must go." Bella held her father's hand all evening. They dined on food that appeared by magic. The chairs moved on their own. Candles lit themselves. That night, in a cozy room with a soft bed, Bella whispered to herself, "This is strange, but I am not afraid." The next morning, her father hugged her goodbye. "Be brave, my sweet Bella." "I will," she promised, waving as he rode away. Now, she was alone, in the castle of the Beast. Bella stood in the grand hallway, her bag still in her hand. The doors closed gently behind her. She was alone, or almost alone. Suddenly, soft lights floated down from the ceiling. Candles lit themselves, and the curtains opened with a gentle whoosh. Music began to play, quiet and peaceful. "Hello," Bella called. A moment later, a gentle voice answered. "Right this way, Miss Bella." A small golden teacup on a silver tray floated toward her. It was floating in the air. Bella blinked in surprise but smiled. The voice continued, "You are our guest now. Let us show you your room." Bella followed the floating tray through long, shiny halls, past glowing chandeliers and talking clocks. The castle was full of magic, but it wasn't scary. It was beautiful and kind. Her room was big and bright. The bed was soft with fluffy pillows, and a vase of fresh flowers stood by the window. There was even a shelf full of books. Bella whispered, "It's like a dream." Later that evening, a voice came from behind the door. "Bella, will you join me for dinner?" It was the Beast. She paused, then answered, "Yes." She was nervous, but she wanted to be polite. She dressed in a simple blue gown that had appeared in the closet, as if it knew her size and favorite color. In the dining room, a long table stretched from one end to the other. At the far end sat the Beast. He stood as she entered and bowed clumsily. "You look nice," he said. Bella smiled shyly. "Thank you." The food appeared again by magic: warm soup, soft bread, sweet fruit. The Beast didn't eat much. He mostly watched her. Not in a scary way, but like he was trying to understand her. After dinner, he asked, "Would you take a walk with me in the garden?" Bella agreed. They walked slowly under the moonlight. The snow had melted, and little green buds were peeking from the ground. The Beast was quiet for a while, then asked, "Do you miss your home?" Bella nodded. "Yes, I miss my father, but this place is kind." "I'm glad," said the Beast softly. Bella looked up at him. "Why are you always alone?" The Beast turned away. "That is a long story." Bella didn't ask more. She could see he was sad. Back in her room, she wrote a letter to her father. The quill and paper appeared on their own. She didn't know if he would get it, but writing it made her feel better. "Dear Papa," she wrote, "the castle is strange, but full of kindness. The Beast is not what I expected. He is gentle." She placed the letter on the windowsill and whispered, "I hope you're okay too." Days passed in the enchanted castle, and Bella began to feel less afraid. She walked through sunny halls, where windows stretched from floor to ceiling. Birds flew in the garden. Books filled an entire library. Magic was everywhere, but it was gentle, not scary. Each morning, she woke to a warm breakfast that appeared on its own. Each evening, the Beast knocked on her door. "Will you dine with me tonight?" he always asked, and Bella always answered, "Yes." They ate together in the grand dining room, where candles floated above the table and soft music played in the background. At first, they barely spoke, but slowly, they began to talk more. The Beast asked Bella about her favorite stories. She told him about fairy tales and brave characters. The Beast listened carefully, sometimes smiling, sometimes looking far away, as if remembering something. One evening, after a lovely dinner of vegetable stew and fresh apple pie, the Beast stood up and looked at Bella. "Bella," he said slowly, "do you think you could ever love me?" Bella blinked. She looked at the Beast, at his large furry hands, his deep golden eyes, and his hunched shoulders. He looked nervous, like he already knew her answer. She stood up gently and said, "You are kind, and I am not afraid of you anymore, but love takes time." The Beast nodded. "I understand." He bowed and left the room, his steps heavy. Bella sat back down and stared at her plate. She felt sad not because she didn't care about the Beast, but because she didn't want to hurt him. He had been nothing but gentle and thoughtful. Later that night, as Bella read in the library, she heard soft footsteps behind her. It was the Beast. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to upset you." "You didn't," Bella said quickly. "You asked an honest question, and I answered kindly. That's what friends do." "Friends?" he repeated. "Yes," she smiled. "I think we're friends now." The Beast looked surprised and happy. "Thank you, Bella." He left quietly, and Bella returned to her book. But her heart was full of thoughts. The Beast was unlike anyone she had ever known. Kind, lonely, and maybe, under all that fur, even a little bit broken. "I don't love him," she whispered to herself, "but I do care." And that, she thought, was a start. One morning, after breakfast appeared on its own as usual, Bella opened her bedroom door and found a small note floating in the air. It sparkled softly and drifted gently into her hands. The note read, "Would you like to see something special? Follow the golden lights." The Beast. Bella smiled. She stepped into the hallway, and sure enough, tiny glowing orbs like fireflies made of sunlight floated before her. They danced down the stairs and through the long hallway, and she followed, her curiosity growing. They led her to a heavy wooden door with ivy carved into it. She gently pushed it open and gasped. It was a secret garden. Inside, everything bloomed with color. Pink roses climbed tall white arches. Bluebells and yellow daffodils covered the ground like a soft carpet. A small stream bubbled between smooth stones, and butterflies danced through the air. It was the most beautiful place Bella had ever seen. She stepped inside slowly. The sun shone through tall glass windows in the ceiling. Birds chirped from trees, and the air smelled like spring. Suddenly, she heard a voice. "I come here when I want to feel hope." Bella turned. The Beast stood near a flowering tree, half hidden in the light. "This place is magic," he said. "It changes with how I feel. When I'm sad, it fades. When I'm happy, it blooms." Bella looked around in wonder. "Then today must be a happy day." The Beast smiled slightly. "Because you are here." Bella walked beside him through the garden. "Did you plant all of this?" "I didn't have to," he said. "It grew on its own." "The castle listens." Bella touched a rose. "It's alive, like it knows how to love." The Beast nodded. "Like you." Bella looked up at him. "I think the place was meant to be shared." He looked surprised. "You don't mind being here with me?" Bella laughed. "You're much better company than most people I know." They walked quietly after that, side by side. Before going back inside, Bella picked a single soft pink flower. "Here," she said, handing it to the Beast. "For hope." The Beast stared at the flower for a long moment, then gently held it in his large hand. Back in her room, Bella placed a small drawing in her journal. The beast, the garden, and a heart-shaped tree blooming behind them. She wrote one sentence beneath it. "Today, I saw kindness grow." After the day in the secret garden, Bella felt even more at home in the castle. The beast still looked big and a little scary from the outside, but Bella no longer feared him. She saw how gentle he truly was. One rainy afternoon, as drops tapped against the tall windows, Bella wandered down a long hallway she had never seen before. The golden lights appeared again, swirling softly in the air. "Are you showing me something new?" Bella whispered. The lights danced ahead, leading her to a tall door with carvings of books and quills. She pushed it open, and her eyes grew wide with wonder. It was the library. Not just any library, it was enormous. The walls were lined with bookshelves that reached all the way to the ceiling. Ladders rolled along the shelves. Cozy reading chairs sat by glowing fireplaces. There were soft rugs, maps, globes, and even floating books that gently turned their own pages. Bella took a step inside. "It's the most beautiful room I've ever seen." Suddenly, the beast entered behind her. "I thought you might like it." "Like it?" Bella laughed. "It's perfect." She spun around slowly, looking at everything. "Have you read all these?" The beast chuckled. "Not yet. Some of them are too small for my paws." Bella pulled out a book and held it up. "Then maybe I can read them to you." The beast tilted his head. "You'd do that?" "Of course," she smiled. "Friends share stories." So they sat by the fireplace. Bella opened a book filled with fairy tales. Her voice danced with excitement as she read. The beast listened quietly, sometimes closing his eyes to imagine the stories. Time passed, and they read many tales of clever foxes, brave adventurers, and silly kings. At one point, the beast asked, "Do you believe stories can come true?" Bella looked at him. "Sometimes. The best ones already have." He looked away, but a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. When the rain stopped and the fire grew low, Bella looked around and said, "May I come back tomorrow?" "You may come back every day," the beast said. "This room is yours now, too." Bella beamed. "Thank you." As she left for the evening, she glanced back at the beast, still sitting near the fire, holding a small book carefully between his claws. That night in her room, Bella whispered, "He's not just kind. He's lonely, and he's trying." She hugged her pillow and smiled. "I think I really like him." One quiet morning, as the birds chirped outside and the castle glowed with sunlight, Bella sat in the library reading a book of fairy tales. She had grown to love her new life, the garden, the library, the magic, and even the beast. That day, the beast came to find her. "Bella," he said gently, "I have something to show you." She closed her book and stood up. "What is it?" "Something magical," he said, "but also something important." He led her through a narrow hallway she hadn't seen before. At the end of it stood a tall, silver-framed mirror. It stood on its own in the center of a quiet room, surrounded by golden curtains and glowing lanterns. The beast stepped beside the mirror and said softly, "This is the mirror of wishes. It shows anything you wish to see, even if it is far away." Bella's eyes widened. "Anything?" He nodded. "Would you like to try?" Bella thought for a moment. Then she stepped forward and whispered, "I wish to see my father." The mirror shimmered like water. Slowly, an image appeared, a small cottage, snow gently falling outside. Inside, her father sat by the fire, looking tired. He held the rose she had brought home. His face looked sad, as if he missed her terribly. Bella's heart ached. "He looks so lonely." The beast nodded. "He does miss you." She looked up at him. "I didn't realize how much." The beast said nothing at first, then gently added, "You are free to go to him if you wish." Bella blinked. What do you mean? I gave you my word, the beast said. You are not my prisoner. You are my guest and my friend. If your heart tells you to go, I will not stop you. Bella didn't know what to say. Her chest felt warm and heavy at the same time. I do want to see him, she whispered, but I don't want to hurt you. The beast turned away. You are kind. That is why I let you choose. Bella looked again into the mirror. If I go, may I come back? He nodded slowly. If you choose to. She stepped forward and hugged him, a small, gentle hug around his big furry arm. Thank you. That night, Bella packed her things. She didn't know how long she would stay at home, but she promised herself she would return. In her bag, she placed one book, one flower from the garden, and the rose from her father. And in her heart, she carried something even more special, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, she had left a little bit of love behind. Early the next morning, the golden lights in the castle gently led Bella to the gates. The snow had melted, and the path through the forest was clear. A white horse waited for her, its saddle warm and ready. Bella turned back one last time and saw the beast watching from the castle steps. He didn't wave, but he bowed his head softly. She smiled. I'll come back, I promise. With that, she rode through the trees, her heart full of hope and worry all at once. After a long journey, Bella reached her village. Everything looked the same, the cottages, the snowy rooftops, and the people walking through the market square. She knocked on the door of her family's cottage. Papa, she called. The door opened quickly, and her father's face lit up. Bella! He pulled her into a hug. Oh, my sweet girl, you're home! They sat by the fire as she told him everything. The enchanted castle, the magical garden, the dancing lights, and the beast. Her father listened carefully. And you were safe all this time? Bella nodded. More than safe. I was cared for. He's not a monster, Papa. He's someone who's been very lonely for a long time. Her father looked at her gently. And what about you? Were you lonely? She smiled. Not anymore. Bella's sisters were surprised to see her, but they didn't ask many questions. They only whispered and watched as Bella helped their father clean, cook, and repair the house. Days passed. At first, Bella felt happy to be home. She missed her father and loved being near him again. But at night, her heart ached. She thought of the garden, the library, the quiet dinners, the way the beast listened when she read, the way he looked at her with hope, even though he was afraid. One morning, she awoke suddenly. Something inside her felt wrong. She ran to the little bag where she kept the enchanted mirror. Holding it carefully, she whispered, "Show me the beast." The mirror shimmered. The image appeared. He was lying in the garden under the heart-shaped tree. His eyes were closed. His face was pale. "No," Bella gasped. "He's fading." Tears welled up in her eyes. "He let me go, and now he's dying from sadness." She stood up, grabbed her cloak, and turned to her father. "Papa," she said, "I must go back." He nodded, already understanding. "I love him," she whispered. Then she rode fast, faster than she ever had before. Back to the castle, back to the garden, back to him. Bella rode as fast as the wind. The forest flew past in a blur, trees bending, birds scattering, her heart beating louder than the hoofbeats beneath her. The sky darkened as if the clouds themselves shared her worry. When the gates of the castle appeared, they opened on their own, as if the castle remembered her. "Hold on," Bella whispered to the horse, and they galloped through the snow-dusted courtyard. She leapt off before the horse had fully stopped and ran through the great doors, calling out, "Beast! Beast! Where are you?" The castle was silent. The floating candles were dim. The music was gone. Bella's feet carried her to the garden, past the dining hall, past the grand stairs, and through the ivy-covered archway. There he was. The beast lay on the grass beneath the heart-shaped tree. The flowers had wilted. The sunlight was fading. Bella dropped to her knees. "No, don't leave me." She gently lifted his head into her lap. His fur was cold. His breathing was slow. "I'm here," she whispered, tears falling down her cheeks. "I came back." His eyes opened slightly. He looked up at her, weakly. "You came." "I never should have left for so long," she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't know how much I cared, but I do. I do." He tried to smile, but his eyes closed again. "No!" Bella cried. "You can't leave me!" She held his paw tightly and whispered through her tears, "I love you." At that moment, the wind stopped. The air grew still. A soft golden light surrounded them, rising from the ground like fireflies. The castle walls glowed. The heart-shaped tree shimmered. The garden seemed to breathe again. Then suddenly light burst from the beast's chest. Bella gasped and let go. The beast floated gently into the air, wrapped in swirling gold light. His fur shimmered. His claws softened. His hunched shoulders straightened. The magic lifted him higher and higher. Then, with a quiet whoosh, he landed softly back on the grass. Bella covered her mouth. Lying before her was not the beast, but a young man. His hair was dark and soft. His eyes were golden, just like before. But now his face was kind and calm and human. He sat up slowly, blinking in the sunlight. "Bella?" he asked. Bella stared in shock. You're not." "I was cursed," he said softly. "Long ago. Only true love, freely given, could break the spell." Bella laughed through her tears. "I should have told you sooner," he smiled. "You told me just in time." As they stood up together, the garden bloomed around them brighter than ever before. The magic had returned, and love had saved them both. Bella and the young man, once the beast, stood together in the glowing garden. The golden light still sparkled around them, and the heart-shaped tree behind them was now in full bloom, covered in pink and white blossoms. Bella looked up at him, still holding his hand. "You're a prince?" He nodded. "Yes, a long time ago." "Why were you cursed?" The prince looked down, his voice quiet. "I was selfish. I only cared about myself. I turned people away. I was rude and unkind. Then one day, a stranger came to the castle, an old woman, and asked for help. I laughed at her and told her to leave." Bella listened carefully. "But she wasn't just a woman. She was a powerful enchantress. She saw that my heart was cold, so she cast a spell on me, turned me into the beast, and cursed the castle. The spell could only be broken if someone loved me. Not for how I looked, but for who I was inside." Bella's eyes were wide. "And now the curse is gone?" The prince smiled. "Because you were kind. Because you cared. And because you loved me." Bella blushed. Just then, the entire castle began to shimmer. The windows glowed. The stone walls softened in color. Vines and flowers stretched along the balconies. One by one, magical servants began to appear, not floating cups and dancing spoons, but real people. The teacup became a cheerful boy. The clock became an old man with a kind face. The broom became a lady with flowers in her hair. They clapped, laughed, and cried with joy. "We're free!" they shouted. "The curse is broken!" Bella looked around in amazement. "They were enchanted too?" The prince nodded. "They were part of the spell." Everyone gathered in the garden. Music began to play. Candles floated through the air, lighting the evening with soft, magical light. The prince turned to Bella. "You don't have to stay here if you don't want to." Bella looked at the blooming trees, the smiling people, and finally back at him. "I think," she said, "this place feels more like home than anywhere else." The prince took her hand. "Then let's make it your home." That night, a grand dinner was held in the ballroom. The table sparkled with treats and flowers. Bella wore a dress made of soft gold, and the prince wore a deep blue coat. They danced, laughed, and told stories late into the night. And for the first time in a long time, the castle wasn't quiet or lonely. It was full of love, laughter, and life. The next morning, golden sunlight filled every hallway of the castle. The snow had melted, and the birds chirped from the trees. Everything felt fresh, as if the whole world had taken a deep, happy breath. Bella woke early, the sound of soft music drifting through her window. She opened her eyes, smiled, and sat up in her warm bed. "It wasn't a dream," she whispered to herself. She dressed quickly in a sky-blue dress the castle had prepared for her and stepped into the hallway. The walls were no longer dark and cold, they glowed with soft light, and bright flowers lined the windows. In the dining room, she found the prince already waiting. He wore a simple shirt and vest, but his eyes sparkled. "Good morning," he said. Bella smiled. "It really is." They sat down together as breakfast appeared: fresh bread, sweet fruits, and warm tea. The servants bustled around, now fully human and full of joy. They chatted, laughed, and brought flowers from the garden. After breakfast, the prince turned to Bella. "Would you like to see the village?" Bella nodded. "I'd like that." They walked through the castle gates and rode together on horseback through the forest path. The trees swayed gently, and sunlight danced through the leaves. When they reached the village, people gasped. The prince, once missing for years, had returned, and beside him was Bella, the kind and brave girl from their own town. Everyone came out to greet them. Children waved, and adults offered flowers and baskets of food. Bella's father ran forward and hugged her tightly. "You look happy," he said, tears in his eyes. "I am," Bella whispered. "And I want you to come visit, always." The villagers were amazed to hear how the castle had been under a spell, and how Bella's kindness had broken it. Many said, "You saved him," but Bella shook her head gently. "We saved each other." Later that afternoon, they returned to the castle, which now felt more alive than ever. Musicians played joyful tunes in the courtyard. Flowers bloomed in every corner. Children who visited danced through the halls, laughing at the magical lights that followed them. Bella and the prince sat together under the heart-shaped tree in the garden, the same place where love had lifted the curse. The prince turned to her. "What do you dream of now, Bella?" She looked up at the sky, then back at him. "A life filled with kindness, adventure, and books." He laughed. "Then that is exactly the life we shall have." They stayed there until the stars began to twinkle. And though their story wasn't over, they both knew this was a beautiful new beginning. The days passed happily at the castle. Bella's favorite part of her new life was sharing books and stories, not just with the prince, but with everyone who lived there. One morning, as the sun lit up the castle towers, Bella had an idea. "I want to have a festival," she told the prince as they walked through the garden. "A special day just for stories." The prince raised an eyebrow. "A festival?" "Yes," Bella said excitedly, "with books and reading corners, costumes, and even plays acted out in the ballroom." The prince smiled. "Then let's make it happen." Soon, everyone in the castle was helping. The cooks prepared special treats shaped like books and quills. The dressmakers created fairy tale costumes, knights, dragons, mermaids, and princesses. The library was decorated with garlands, ribbons, and magical floating candles. Bella made a special invitation for the village children. "Come read, play, and dream with us." On the day of the festival, Carriages arrived from all over. Children, parents, and storytellers came through the castle gates, eyes wide with wonder. In the library, Bella sat in a golden chair with children gathered at her feet. She opened a large storybook, Once Upon a Time. The room filled with magic as she read. The pictures in the book shimmered and rose into the air, dancing lights that moved and changed like the characters in her story. Elsewhere, the ballroom had become a mini theater. The castle staff performed a silly play about a frog prince who turned into a baker instead of a royal. Laughter echoed through the halls. In the courtyard, the prince challenged children to friendly games, pretending to slay dragons and rescue stuffed animals from tiny towers. Everywhere, there was joy. At one point, Bella spotted her father, sitting on a bench and smiling at the happy crowd. She ran to him and gave him a hug. "You made something wonderful, Bella," he said proudly. Bella smiled. "It wasn't just me. Everyone helped." That night, the sky lit up with gentle fireworks, shapes of stars, roses, and even little dancing books. The children clapped, and the castle glowed warmly. As the guests returned home, Bella and the prince stood on the balcony, watching the last carriage roll away. "Will we do this every year?" he asked. "Yes," Bella said. "Stories should be shared again and again." She looked at him and added, "Just like love." They stood together under the stars, hearts full, surrounded by magic and laughter. The castle was no longer a place of silence and shadows. It was a home filled with people, stories, and hope. A few days after the festival, Bella wandered through one of the older wings of the castle, a place she hadn't explored before. The hallway was quiet and filled with portraits of people from long ago. Thick red curtains covered the windows, and golden dust danced in the sunlight. Curious, Bella opened a tall wooden door at the end of the hall. Inside was a small room with shelves lined in velvet. On one of the shelves sat a beautiful wooden box with roses carved on the lid. As soon as she touched it, the box opened gently with a soft click. Inside was a folded letter and a small golden necklace with a single red stone shaped like a teardrop. Bella carefully picked up the letter. The paper was old, but the ink was clear. "To the one who sees beauty not with her eyes but with her heart. Thank you for breaking the spell. Not just for the prince, but for us all. This necklace once belonged to his mother. It is yours now, a symbol of love, courage, and kindness." Bella held the necklace in her hand and felt a warmth spread through her fingers. It wasn't magic like the floating candles or talking furniture. It was something deeper, gentler, a quiet kind of magic. She placed the necklace around her neck and stood silently for a moment, her heart full of emotion. Later that evening, she showed the gift to the prince. He looked at it and gasped softly. "I remember this," he said. "My mother wore it every day. She always said it held her happiest memories." Bella looked up at him. "Now it will hold mine too." They stood together for a moment, both remembering different kinds of love, one from long ago and one just beginning. That night, Bella returned to the library and sat near the fireplace. She opened a blank journal and began to write. "Dear future reader, once there was a castle that forgot how to laugh. It waited quietly until a rose grew, a promise was made, and a girl with a kind heart saw through a curse. She smiled as the words flowed. The castle wasn't just full of stories anymore. It was becoming one." One bright afternoon, as Bella read peacefully in the garden under the heart-shaped tree, a castle servant hurried to her with wide eyes. "Miss Bella," he said, slightly out of breath. "There's someone at the gates asking to see you." Bella stood quickly. "Who is it?" "We're not sure, but she says she's family." Bella followed him through the blooming courtyard to the grand gates. Standing outside was a woman in a long traveling cloak. Her face was familiar though, older and sharper than she remembered. It was her eldest sister. "Sylvia?" Bella said, surprised. Sylvia gave a small nod. Hello, little sister. They hadn't seen each other since Bella had first left for the castle. Sylvia had stayed behind, focused on fine clothes and gossip. But now her expression looked different, softer, tired. I heard about the castle, she said slowly. And about you. I had to see it for myself. Bella opened the gate and welcomed her in. As they walked through the castle gardens, Sylvia looked around in wonder. It's beautiful. I didn't believe the stories. Bella smiled. It wasn't always this way. It became beautiful when people filled it with kindness. Sylvia looked at her sister, then at the necklace around Bella's neck. You've changed. I've grown, Bella said gently. That evening, the prince welcomed Sylvia politely. She sat at the table, a little stiff and unsure. But as the food appeared and music played softly in the background, she began to relax. After dinner, the sisters walked together beneath the stars. I wasn't always nice to you, Sylvia said suddenly. Bella nodded. I know. Sylvia looked down. But I see it now, you were the brave one. You gave up comfort for love and helped everyone in this castle find joy again. Bella took her sister's hand. It's never too late to begin again. Sylvia blinked back tears. Do you think I could stay for a little while? Bella smiled. Yes, I'd like that. The next morning, Sylvia was helping the kitchen staff arrange fruit for breakfast. She laughed as a floating teacup spilled jam on her sleeve. The castle had room for everyone, even hearts learning how to change. Spring turned into summer, and the castle was full of color, music, and laughter. Birds sang from the towers, flowers bloomed in every window, and soft magical lights floated through the air each evening like tiny stars. Bella spent her days in the library, garden, or teaching village children how to read. The prince often joined her, helping build new shelves or carrying baskets of books down to the courtyard for story time. Sylvia, her sister, stayed longer than expected. She began helping in the kitchens and even joined the castle musicians, playing cheerful songs on a little flute she found in the attic. One morning, the prince invited Bella to the secret garden, the same place where their story had truly begun. The heart-shaped tree stood tall and full of pink blossoms. Beneath it, a table had been set for two. Tea steamed in delicate cups, and sweet buns were stacked on silver plates. Bella laughed. This looks familiar. The prince smiled and offered her a seat. I thought we'd start the day with something special. They talked, sipped tea, and laughed together. Then the prince stood, holding something small in his hand. It was a ring shaped like a tiny golden rosebud. Bella, he said softly, you taught me how to care. You showed me kindness, courage, and love. She blinked, her heart fluttering. I know we already have a life full of magic, he continued. But I'd be the happiest man in the world if you would share all of it with me as my wife. Bella gasped. Then she smiled, the biggest smile of her life. Yes, she whispered. Of course, yes. The castle bells rang with joy. The lights sparkled brighter than ever. And deep in the garden, the heart-shaped tree dropped a single golden petal onto their joined hands. A few months later, the whole kingdom was invited to a joyful celebration. The villagers, the castle staff, Bella's father, and even her sisters stood together in the grand ballroom. Music filled the air, and every corner of the castle glowed with happiness. Bella and the prince, no longer a beast, but always brave, danced beneath the floating candles, surrounded by family, friends, and love. And though their story had started with a rose, a curse, and a promise, it ended with a choice. A choice to see beyond appearances. A choice to love with a whole heart. And a promise that they would never stop learning, growing, or dreaming together. And so, they lived happily ever after.